So I'm an overthinker. I'm sure this comes as a surprise to absolutely zero people watching this. I think you guys could probably figure that out on your own. But it's also probably fairly obvious that I don't just overthink about dumb philosophical questions in a cube while I paint and talk with you all. I overthink about everything in my life. Every text, every relationship, every interaction, every social inadequacy. It all comes as a result of overthinking. And I think that this is something that over the years I've had kind of a journey with, right? There's transparently not many parts of my personality that I've been like, I gotta work on that, or I gotta cope with that, or like, this is a limitation, you know? Or any that are small enough where have the privilege of ignoring them, you know? Overthinking is not one of these things, though. Overthinking has never been one of those things. It's always been something that has gotten in the way of everything, right? Since I was much, much younger than I am now. And I still wonder sometimes, like, would it be better if I wasn't an overthinker? Like, would it be better if I didn't have this part of myself? You know what I mean? And that's what I want to think about today. This is definitely going to be something of a self-serving episode, I think, in comparison to the average episode, what I usually try to do here. But I do think, too, that, like, looking back on my journey with this as something that's just generally not talked about as much, because rightfully so. I mean, it's a lot less serious than other things that can be going on in your head, you know what I mean? I don't see it being talked about much, though, for that reason. And I think back to my younger self, and I wonder, like, would something like this help? And that's why I do think I want to come here and make this video. I think that, like, when I was younger, my thought about this was always, I'm an overthinker, but someday it'll make me really smart, or, like, way better than I am now, you know? Like, as a kid, I was solid academically, I guess, but I was like, I could be smarter, you know? I could be way better than I am now. And I just kind of, like, in my mind, I thought it was intuitive. Like, I overthink. One day, I'll think my way into being smart, you know? Unfortunately, that's just not how this works. If any of you guys are overthinkers, which I'm willing to assume that a good deal of you probably are, based on you liking this show, you don't overthink, you know, I wish I overthought about things like math and job applications. No, I usually am just overthinking about, like, a text I sent, or, you know, something like that. And it's almost always counterproductive, right? Like, I don't think it's a good thing. However, I do I think that, like, even with that, right? Even the fact that it's always counterproductive, there still is, thinking through my life, like, one or two times that it's truly helped me. Like, where, like, if I didn't overthink a situation, I would have gotten hurt, or I would have ended up in a much worse predicament than I was. And sometimes I wonder, like, being an overthinker rather, is like a lot like being a contrarian, I think, right? Where conventional wisdom exists for a reason, and if you're somebody who's a contrarian to everything, you're going to be wrong a lot. But when you're right as a contrarian, you're really right. And you know, you hit it out of the park. And when you're an overthinker, I think it's kind of the same way, where it's like, being an overthinker is almost always a counterproductive thing, but when it comes in and helps you, it really helps you. I mean, I guess there's sort of an argument that this entire show is just like a result of me being an overthinker. I guess that's an angle one could take, right? I don't think that's true, because I think, like, this is more a result of sort of trained overthinking over the years, right? Because I guess that's why I've appealed so much to philosophy over the years, right? Is because I can look at that and be like, almost like, look, this is a place where it's cool to do that, where, like, that's actually a useful thing to go down all these routes. And I guess because of that, it's led to me, like, enjoying that more than I think the average person does. Or I guess not the average person, than a lot of my friends do, is I guess the closest actual thing I can say as far as who enjoys philosophy. But I don't know if I'd say this show is like a result of me being an overthinker, because I do think it's largely a result of me just kind of being self-aware enough to train into like overthink about that thing, not that thing. I think that's like the main thing that I have discovered over the years, is that the only actual antidote to overthinking, because like the annoying thing about overthinking is that you can't just not do it because it's mental, right? That's where like there's almost a comedian said this once, and I think it was a joke, obviously, but like there's some truth in it, where they were like, I wish I was just like 600 pounds instead of being depressed, right? And they weren't, they were saying this because it's such a physical issue. It's like, okay, this is the angle I need to go, this is what I need to do. Of course, if you're actually, suffering from something like that, it probably is mental too, but I think they make a good point about like, mental issues are so much harder because they are like just in your head. You can't outthink your own mind because it's gonna get you eventually. You know what I mean? Like it's up there with you. You can't run from it. As much as a physical problem, you can very easily look at it in a direct way, right? But so there's no real way that I've been able to actually be like, how can I turn this into something productive? How can I turn this into something good? But I think like the only way that I've been able to make it not something quite as bad, and perhaps once again, I guess there's an argument that like there are glimmers of it being good throughout my life. The only way is like through that rigorous self-awareness, right? I guess that's actually one of the pros of overthinking, is it's hard to overthink and not be self-aware after a while. Especially like for me, I know I had a lot of like social issues when I was younger because I'd overthink so much, right? And I know that like that led to me just being hyper self-aware of everything in some situations. Honestly, I think I've gotten better over the years at moving away from that. Like I think I have lost a little bit of that self-awareness, I feel like, almost. But I do think that having that self-awareness is important because it helps you filter, right? When you're thinking about let's say it's a text or something, which is a very common thing to overthink about, and you're going in circles, you're, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I think that is a much better place to be like, I'm self-aware that I'm overthinking right now. This is probably nothing. This is probably dumb, right? There's also this side of things that there's like this new thing people are doing online where they're like I'm not overthinking, I'm negative image forecasting. It's something that comes out of Stoicism, where like the Stoics would be like, what's everything terrible that could happen to me? So I can already imagine it happening, and then I won't care if it happens. That's stupid. That's not productive. I mean, like maybe if you're running a company or something, it can be productive to be like, I'm going to think of every bad thing that can happen and try and prevent it. Like if you are somebody who like paranoia is going to help you survive, more power to you. I mean, insane aura to get off that kind of thing, right? But otherwise, usually like overthinking things like texts is just going to be an unproductive exercise that does not get more productive, right? So I think having a self-awareness, it won't ever stop you from overthinking, but it'll help you understand like it's going to be okay, right? The honest answer though to like what's helped me over the years is I think with overthinking so much over the years, it's helped. It's almost like I've gotten better at overthinking my way through a situation. Like focus, you're overthinking, right? You can overthink to a solution, not to more problems. And that's actually why I think that whole stoicism thing of mental image forecasting is dumb, because it's like, it's just thinking about bad things that can happen. It's not focused on like, what is the thing in front of me and how can I solve it, right? If you think in terms of solutions, you can honestly get so much, you can do so much better, right? And that's where I think, like, I don't know, I do go back and forth on like, is being able to overthink things like a philosophy book, is that even overthinking, or is that just critical reading, right? There's a part of me that like wonders that sometimes. And I go back and forth on it, but let's just say for argument's sake that's overthinking here. I do think there's maybe an approach to where you can learn to train your overthinking and learn to turn it into more of a superpower than anything else. I do know people who deem themselves to be underthinkers too. This is interesting. They deem themselves to like not think enough through things, and they always say they wish they could be an overthinker. And I've always felt like I wish I could just be an underthinker because it seems so much better to just do without thinking. Like, people who are able to just do without thinking tend to have more friends, they tend to be more successful in life. Like, imagine if I could do this and not care about anything. Like, just be like, I'm just doing this right now, instead of overthinking every aspect. I mean, the first almost 50 episodes of this show, like, I could barely get anything out because I was overthinking so much. There were like 20 recordings of the first 20 episodes of the show because it took so long to get comfortable doing something like this, right? Because it was such a free-form medium. And I was always like, I wish I could be somebody who, not an underthinker, but somebody who just wasn't an overthinker. But I guess the grass is always greener. So, I don't know. I feel this is kind of a weird discussion because it's something I kind of decided to do on a whim, because I remember it's a video that I, as a kid, when I dreamed of doing YouTube when I was older, because I did it as a kid, and I got bullied because my voice was so high, everybody knew I was a kid. I don't know why I even tried hiding it, because it was very obvious. I was doing action figure reviews, and it was the most obvious thing ever, and I was like, okay, when I'm a full-grown person, I'll do YouTube. I always thought, like, this is a video I want to make, and I remember that today, so I was like, let's go make this video. I will say there's kind of a weird tone to this video, because obviously now, coming from being a kid to being an adult, I understand how little of an issue this is in comparison to the giant issues I could have had. You know what I mean? Like, or maybe could still run into down the line. Like, I could have had a plethora of other things going on in my head that are genuine mental illnesses, not being an overthinker, right? But I don't know, I still felt the need to make it because I was like, well, I don't know, do you guys have this thing too where like the younger you can dictate anything you do? Like, if I find like a note in a notebook from when I was a kid that's like, you, when you're older, you need to wear pink all the time and refuse to ever take anything that's not pink and put it on your body, and you need to be a guy in a pink suit that's in that pink suit till the day he dies, I would do it. I'd be like, well, 5-year-old me dreamed of it, and I have the power now, I have the income, I guess I gotta go do it. Like, I don't know if you guys have that too, but I was like, let's make the video. I do think, though, that, I don't know, if the younger version of me is out there watching this, shout out to you. Hopefully this is cool. Otherwise, I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking my video about overthinking now. I don't know 100%, guys. Definitely feels weird to make this, but I also feel like, you know, there's gonna be a bunch of these. I do this every morning. I think it's okay to have one every now and again where it's like you tried something like that and maybe it's cool to some people, maybe it's not cool to others, but my best advice to you, if you are that younger version of me watching, is try to develop self-awareness and learn problem-solving skills, because if you can put those two things together, maybe the overthinking will turn into something good. Or maybe I just actually learned other skills and are confusing them for overthinking now, because I don't think I have. I think I would need some sort of degree to properly understand that. This is the painting, new color palette. I think, guys, I don't know. I'm going back and forth on this. To be 100% transparent, I have, from after this episode, I have 20 more episodes to record in the next, like, 3 weeks before I head away, which is only an extra, like, 5 episodes, I think. No. I don't know. I recorded a couple ahead already. I'm headed on vacation for 2 weeks to Japan. I want to record ahead so I can keep up the daily uploads here for you all, and hopefully not compromise any of the quality too. So I'm kind of struggling. Do I want to continue the color palette series until I go away, come back, start in with a new series? I already know what the next series is going to be, and I also know what the series after that's going to be, tentatively. And I'm very excited for them. I think they're going to be really cool. I don't know, do I want to make this last color palette and move on, or do I want to continue with these? I'm kind of going back and forth on it. I'll think about that. I'll overthink about that in my own time, though, and let you guys get on your way. So yeah, this is the painting. Interesting color palette. I don't know quite how I feel about it. But yeah, go check this out over on the Instagram. It'll be up at the end of the color palette series when all the color palette paintings go up. They're all going to go up at the same time. I think it'll be pretty cool. So yeah, definitely
follow over there. Be on the lookout for that. And until next time, guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Dice. This has been Paint and Talk episode 213. I'm here every morning, painting and talking with you all.